What's going on, everybody? It's your big homie, the armchair operator, and welcome to another video. Now, if you're new to my channel, thank you so much for stopping by. If you enjoyed today's content, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. Become a part of the family. We would love to have you. And if you're coming back to my channel, thank you so much for coming back to the channel. I really do appreciate it, and I hope that you also enjoyed today's content. So today we are going to take a look at probably one of the most talked about firearms in the gun industry today. We are going to take a look at the Fusion Firearms XP Pro, the double stack 1911 that takes Glock magazines. But we're not only just going to take a look at the XP Pro. What a lot of people don't know is that Fusion Firearms is coming out with their own red dots, and I actually happen to have one of those red dots, so we're going to take a look at that today as well. But before we get started, just a little bit of housekeeping first. First of all, I am not offering for sale any firearms on this channel. This video is for information purposes only. I do not have anything for sale, nor am I promoting anything for sale. Second piece of housekeeping. This firearm was actually provided by the great team over at the Bunker Gun Shop. So big ups to them. Thank you to those guys over there, Frank and Chris, for providing the firearm for this review. As always, I pride myself on doing 100% honest reviews, but at the end of the day, my reviews are my experiences alone and largely my opinions based on my experiences. So definitely take that for what you will. The second, or I should say third and last bit of piece of housekeeping about the red dot. The red dot is not actually available for purchase right now, and I actually recently got this red dot courtesy of, well, two entities really. Fusion Firearms, and I actually won this particular red dot at a regular meetup Arm 5. So I have to give a shout out to Fusion Firearms, and I also have to give a shout out to the regular gun guy and all those, his entire team. Basically, there's too many people named, his entire team, for putting on such an amazing event. Finally, now we're going to get to the meat and potatoes of the review. So my format basically run like this. We're going to take you over to the tabletop. We're going to go through the specs and features, what the gun comes with out of the box, my own little take on how I feel about it, initial impressions, so like, you know what I mean, that sort of thing. And then from there, we're going to head on over to the range, give you my range assessment. Then we're just going to slide on back over here to the review space and close things out. Okay, so without further ado, let's head on over to the tabletop and let's get into this XP Pro. All right, everybody, welcome to the review space. And as you can see, we have the Fusion Firearms XP Pro down here on the tabletop in all of its glory. And when you first get it, you're basically going to get this nice shipping box that the firearm comes in. But we didn't come here to look at the shipping box. We came here to look at the firearm. So let's open up the box. And here we go. Boom, we got ourselves a nice gray hard case right here. We're just going to sit this aside. And this is the case. So first thing right off the hop, thank you, Fusion Firearms, for providing a very nice hard case. I am definitely a sucker for a hard case. But anyway, let's get this guy opened up. So check it out. Here we are. Here we got the Fusion Firearms XP Pro. We got a 2 Glock pattern magazine sitting over on the side, 17 rounders. And as you can see, I already have the dot mounted. Okay, so before we go any further, y'all know how I like to get down. I like to be safe at all times. We got to verify clear. So as you can see, there's no round in the chamber. There's no magazine in the firearm. This firearm is empty, safe direction, and we are in a safe and controlled environment. I do not have any live ammunition anywhere in my review space. All right, so let's talk about the firearm. So here we are. We have here, like I said before, basically a double stack 1911 that takes Glock pattern magazines. It has a 4-inch barrel, almost full length dust cover with a Picatinny rail on the bottom, and we have Fusion Firearms red dot already mounted on here. So the XP Pro comes with two optics mounting plates. It comes with an RMR pattern and it comes with this is the RMSC footprint. The good thing about these optics plates that I really like is the fact that you can see your optic compatibility is basically printed on the underside of the plate. I don't know if the camera is able to pick that up. So you can basically look at this and see if your optic of choice is written on the bottom of the plate. So I think that's pretty dope. And of course, like I said, the RMR plate is already mounted onto the firearm because I'm using an RMR pattern footprint optic. So typically how I like to do is I like to start from kind of the top of the firearm down, usually talking about the sights. But since we got the red dot on here, let's talk about the red dot included with the sighting setup. So it basically has the gun, talking about the sights, mind you, has a white dot front sight with a blacked out rear. The standard optics, I don't actually have the actual plate for the rear sight in the box. I apologize for that. But basically how the gun comes when you first get it, it has its standard plate mounted onto the slide of the gun here. And that particular optic is adjustable, I believe, for windage. It looks similar to this. Think Staccato P with this standard rear sight. That's kind of the vibe that I got when I looked at it. But of course, once you take that plate off to mount your red dot, you lose the rear sight that comes with it. But the good thing about Fusion's plates is that you get a rear sight on the plate, so that's really cool. So you have a natural co-witness. Let me see if I can get that on the camera there. You got yourself kind of a natural co-witness while the optic is mounted onto the firearm. You get the idea. And like I said, we got a white dot front sight, black dot rear, more than adequate, especially when you're running with a red dot. So right off the bat, I like the fact that you get the optics plates, and I like the fact that you get a natural co-witness when you mount your dot. Now let's talk about this optic here. So as far as I am aware, as of the making of this video, this optic doesn't have a name. As a matter of fact, it's kind of in the testing phase. So it's not really available for purchase right now, but so far, I have a few hundred rounds through the gun with this optics on. The optic itself, I think, is very nice. I don't know the features of it as of yet. I did reach out to Fusion Firearms to get the specs and features, so hopefully I will have that for you all in my 1,000-round follow-up video. But just for the sake of argument for right now, this is their SRO pattern optic, and it's actually very similar in size and shape to the Gideon Optics Omega, which I've already done a review on this channel. And it's similar to the SRO too. It's a little smaller objective window than the SRO, a little closer to the Omega, but you get the idea. From there, we have this beautiful hard chrome finish. So the way this works, I'm sure a lot of people already know, but for those of you who don't know, this particular firearm has a Tenifer coating. And if my OG Glock people know about Tenifer, that's the finish that they were using on Glock pistols for years, up until I believe Gen 4, if I'm not mistaken, until they changed to a new finish. So this has a Tenifer finish underneath. The barrel is black. It is Tenifer coated. But then they go over this and give a nice hard chrome finish over the Tenifer. So all of that being said, you have a very nice, very robust, corrosion resistant finish on this particular firearm. So I think that's really good. You got your front and rear slide serrations. So you can grip it up front, grip it in the rear. It's a little bit difficult to grip up front, if I'm honest. And that actually brings me to one of my negatives about the pistol itself, is that these could be a bit more aggressive, especially if you have sweaty hands, wet hands. If you're a press checker, it takes a good deal of effort to keep my fingers from slipping off of here. Now granted, I could grab it by the slide cuts and do it, so that's something that you could do. Not sure if you'd want to do that after you've put a few hundred rounds through your pistol, but you can do it if you so choose to. Moving right along from there, of course, you got a 4-inch bull barrel with a target reverse crown. And when you pick this gun up in hand, you can feel the weight right away. It's about 35 ounces, give or take, unloaded. And when you grip it, you feel it immediately. Now, that being said, I have to say that this firearm is probably the most well-balanced handgun that I personally have ever shot. The way they did the weight distribution of this, you know, you got the steel frame here, you got the heavy bull barrel. It just feels perfectly balanced. And that balance translates very well into the shooting performance of this firearm, which we'll get into in a little bit. But it's a weighty gun, but the weight is not a heavy gun, at least in my opinion. It's heavier than, say, your micro 9s, of course, but it's not like it's a 50-ounce gun or anything like that. All that being said, as far as form factor, like footprint and weight, it will make for a good EDC gun. Moving down from there, we have the extended slide catch slide release. That little ledge right there. Now that brings me to, I would say, me personally, one of my second negative about the gun. It's not a negative, it's more so me, mainly because I got these great big old bear paws. So when I get my two-hand grip, I have a normally high support hand grip, generally speaking. So you see where my thumb is landing, right? You see where my thumb is landing. So for me, when I use this particular pistol, I have to make sure to put my thumb underneath that slide catch, because I've had habits where, and I do this periodically on the range, I will admit, where I'm riding the slide catch and I don't get that lock back on the last round fire. So that's just one of those things where it's not a knock against the gun, like it doesn't hurt the functionality of the gun. It's just one of those things that I just have to get used to and adjust my grip accordingly. Now, one thing that I would like to see is that another slide catch in the box that's a little bit shorter for us big hand motor scooters that are out there. I think that would be really cool. Moving on from there, let's see, we got a Picatinny rail right here, plenty of rail space for mounting your lights on here. I want to get a light at some point, not exactly sure which one I'm going to get right now. That's why there's none on here. And now we get to this trigger. So this trigger, I really like first of all, the shape of the trigger. That flat trigger, it has a decent amount of length of pull for my finger. And out of the box, this trigger was breaking at around 4 pounds. Now, for an EDC gun, especially a brand new gun, that's saying a lot. But anyway, let's ghost that trigger. All right, so let's get it right there. I want you to see the trigger. That's all the take up. Some people say that that's a lot of take up. Me personally, for EDC, that's perfect. And that's all you get, man. All right, and now here comes the reset. You see that? If you ask me, that is, that's fire right there. I ain't gonna hold you, that's fire. Very, very good, especially for something that's meant for like EDC or duty use. That's really good. Moving right along from there, we have our magazine release here. It's polymer, of course, because of the Glock mags. It's raised a bit, but it's not obnoxious. It doesn't get in the way. It's actually pretty perfect, you know. For those of you with smaller hands, might have a bit of an issue trying to reach this. You might have to, even I have to break my grip a little bit to hit it, but I have no qualms about that. And now we come to the grip. So the grip is an aluminum grip. We got nice texture up on the front here. We have nice texture right here on the mainspring housing right there. And we have some, I guess you would call this checkering or scalloping on the side. I'm not really sure. They are coming out with a G10 style grip that I think that'll be really dope. I don't know if it's I would imagine that it's going to be a G10 style aluminum grip. But if they do, I would definitely be interested in that. Not that I don't like this grip. This grip is more than adequate for me. But that extra texture with the G10 texture, how it just bites it in your hands, I think I would really like that. Especially if they came out with something that's like hard chrome or FDE. Oh man, I'm definitely on that. Moving right along, we have a nice pronounced mag weld. That real good tunnel. So it really makes for getting those magazines in there very easily. And as you can see, once I hit the magazine release, the magazine comes flying right out of the gun. No problems there. This is the push pin here. You do get an extra push pin. I can't think of the name of it. I apologize. But you do get an extra pin in here if you want to. You get your little punch tool and push that pin out and take the mag weld off if you want a little slimmer profile grip. And let's see, we got a nice beaver tail here with a memory pad. Very nice. It's real quality. You get a little bit of play, but it's not that bad. You know what I'm saying? It's really nice. And of course you got your A and B safety right there. Easy to engage, not sticky, not mushy, at least not for me. And our two 17-round Glock mags, of course, it does. Well, these are not OEM. These might be KCI. I'm not really sure. But they look virtually identical to the Glock magazines. And then, as you can see, as I was trying to open this up, we got ourselves some tools here. So we have, you know, a couple cleaning brushes, some mop, a couple of extensions. You know, I think that's really nice. Last and certainly not least, I don't have it here with me at the moment, but it does come with a takedown tool for the guide rod here. It is not a toolless guide rod. Maybe one day we'll get a toolless guide rod. I gotta say, I'm spoiled by a toolless guide rod. It's not mandatory, but I just like it. But the point of the matter is, it does come with a tool for the guide rod. And it comes with an extra backstrap pin that's a little shorter, so if you want to take the mag well off, you can run it without the mag well, and you have another pin to replace it, so that way it'll sit flush in the bottom of the grip. And of course it comes with some very nice stickers. So that's basically it for the tabletop review, y'all. Let's head on over to the range and let's talk about how this particular firearm handles under fire, and then we're going to come back here to the review space and close it out. All right, y'all, welcome to the range portion of the review. We got the Fusion Firearms XP Pro down here on the table. I already got the dot sighted in. That's the B-roll footage that y'all saw prior to my intro. And we just going to put some rounds through it and see how it runs. I'm running a mixed bag of 124 grain Blazer and this here 115 grain Range Dynamics Fiocchi. All right, so we loaded up. Let's throw some lead down range. We're just going to do something a little light and easy, slow and steady. Just get a little bit familiar with the gun. Smooth shooter for sure. Let's take a pause real quick and take a look at the target. Pretty much this is where we're hitting. One thing I will say, the heft of the gun really helps with that recoil management. But anyway, let's put another magazine through here and see how she feels. I already have my thoughts about the slide, stop, slide release, but we'll get to that in a minute. Time we're going to do 115 grain Fiocchi. And we're going to go for that head box. Not bad at all. All right, let's check that target and see where we're at for the moment. So we're basically right here with it. One flyer here, one flyer there. So a couple takeaways for starters. First of all, it has a really nice crisp trigger, solid reset. It was breaking in about 4 pounds before I shot it, and it feels like about a 4-pound trigger. The trigger on this thing is excellent. That flat shoe really makes it stand out. Ergonomic wise, I understand the criticism now. That long slide catch slide release is great for dropping the slide really if you're going for speed, but if you got big old bear paws, it's going to be uncomfortable pretty quick. Can I work with this right now? Yeah, I can. I just got to adjust my grip a little bit. But a better long-term fix is just to put a shorter slide catch on there. But so far she's running. But anyway, let's freshen up the target a little bit and put some more rounds down range. We're loaded up again. Target is freshened up. This time it's at 10 yards. And let's see how she runs now. Not that the distance is going to matter, but basically let's just see how well I can run the XP Pro at 10 yards. Let's run some more of this 115 grain, then we're going to hop over to a mag filled with 124 grain. Not bad. You know, for a non-ported gun, this thing is really flat. I think that has a lot to do with, one, the weight, and two, that 4-inch barrel, that reciprocating, the slide mass is what I'm trying to say. That helps a lot. This thing ported is going to be a monster for sure. See what I mean? Let's check the target. So we was quick with it, but we still stayed on this little, I guess that's a 6-inch plate target at 10 yards. Not bad for an EDC style gun. Now granted, it's not a race gun, it's not a race trigger, but it has the pedigree to be one hell of a race pistol. So you could easily get something like this and trick it out if you wanted to and run fast with it. Personally, I look at this as more of an ED setup. That's just my opinion, and it's great for that as it stands right now. But anyway, we got another target. We got some more magazines. Let's finish up. All right, now it's time to go for that head box. Still at 10 yards, in case you were wondering. All right, not too bad for rapid shooting. One miss here, maybe a little guy over here. But for the most part, on the money, I should say. Now, let's do something a little bit different. I got my Staccato P with me, and I also got my Match X. So now we're just going to kind of compare the XP Pro to the Staccato P, basically in terms of accuracy and felt recoil and all that good stuff. And then we're going to do it with the Match X, and then we just going to head on back to the review space and close this thing out. All right, y'all, we loaded up and ready to go again. I got my Staccato as you see it right here. Now that version of the Staccato has the aluminum grip, and of course it has the polymer magwell and polymer grip, aluminum magwell, aluminum frame. My apologies. So right off the hop, the XP Pro has better balance, even though it has a shorter barrel, just because of the all steel frame and the aluminum grip. But let's see if the bougie Staccato P can outperform the more budget quote-unquote XP Pro. We just got a target up here at 5 yards. We're just going to keep it simple, and we just going to say Whichever one has the tightest groups wins. So to keep things a little bit consistent, I just loaded 17 rounds in the Staccato mags, even though they're 20 rounders, just to match the 20 round Glock mags of the XP Pro. All right, so enough of that. Let's get to it. All right, first up, the newcomer, the XP Pro. Now, the Staccato. Ooh, let's check the target, y'all. So here's the Staccato P. Here's the XP Pro. I don't know, man. What do y'all think? What do y'all think is the tighter between the two? I mean, this is the... I would say in terms of oil, the XP Pro felt better in the hand. But I don't know. I think the Staccato P got it on the accuracy side. It's also a little bit more comfortable to shoot only because of the slide catch not getting in the way of my support hand grip. You know what, let's run that back again. We got to do that again and see just for sure which one is the better shot at 5 yards. All right, so hold that thought. All right, we loaded up, so let's run that back. First up, XP Pro. In case you didn't know, well, you pretty much should know, the XP Pro target is on the left, the Staccato P target is on the right. Okay. Time for the Staccato P. Yeah, the Staccato P definitely has a bit more of a pop because of its lighter weight. Anyway, let's check the target. So on the second go around, I think the XP Pro is tighter than the Staccato P. Oh, for good. I'm pretty... It's kind of hard to say, man. Between the two targets, I'm gonna call it a tie, but if you're gonna ask me, XP Pro all day. Let's put the Match X up here and run that up against the XP Pro, and let's see who comes out on top on that. All right, y'all, I got the Match X and the XP Pro loaded up. This time we doing the battle of the budgets. Same rules apply, 5 yards, 2 little 6-inch targets at 5 yards, and the one with the tightest groups between 2 rounds is going to win overall. All right, so now let's get to it. All right, first up, the Upstart, the XP Pro. Hey, maybe not Upstart is, I don't think that's fair. The only reason why I say it's the Upstart is because the new kid on the block, relatively speaking, but y'all get the idea. Okay, not bad. Now let's see what the Match X can do. I don't know, y'all. Let's check that target. Match X, XP Pro. I think the Match X pretty much got this round in the bag. which is not really a big surprise, being as though the Match X has a compensator while the XP Pro isn't compensated. But the thing is though, a non-compensated, non-ported gun is keeping up with the Match X. Now I will say the Match X feels lighter in the hand, but of course that comp makes it shoot a little softer and a little bit flatter. So with that being said, imagine the XP Pro with the same features. Bob, if you're listening, we waiting on you. We waiting on y'all. But anyway, enough of that. Let's put a first target up there and let's finish this out, all right? All right, last round. First up, XP Pro. Now time for the Match X. All right, let's check the target. Both are pretty much on par with each other, but the Match X is just going to take it, man. That compensator is just, it's hard to beat that. But the XP Pro pretty damn well, and I still feel as though that the XP Pro feels a little bit better in hand. If the Match X didn't have that compensator, I think the XP Pro would have taken this one, even though it has a shorter barrel and slide. But anyway, that's going to conclude the range portion of this review. Let's head on back to the review space so I can give you my final thoughts, and then we just going to get on up out of here. And we're back. All right, so one thing that I forgot to mention during the tabletop and on the range review, more so about the ergonomics of the XP Pro. One more thing that I really like is the beveling around the grip safety. So as I'm gripping the firearm, it doesn't pinch or dig or anything like that, unlike some other guns kind of tend to. So I just wanted to make a note of that before I give you my final thoughts. Now with that being said, let's move to the final thoughts. So I really like this firearm. There are a lot of things that I like about it. First off, I like the fact that you get the optics plates with the firearm when you buy it. I like the fact that you have an option for a full-size plate and also for the RMSC pattern plate. I like that a lot. I really like the hard chrome finish that comes with this. I like the natural co-witness. I really like this trigger. This aluminum flat face trigger is outstanding. I like the Picatinny rail. I like the magwell on here, and I really like how it just kind of forces my grip up a little tighter. It just allows me to hold this firearm just a little bit better than without it. So I really do like that. And I like the fact that it's been rock solid reliable, and so far at this point all together I have a little over 400 rounds through with no issues whatsoever. And this is really just an initial impression, so definitely keep an eye out for that 1,000 round follow-up video to come soon. Honestly, I don't think that there will be any issues. And you know, I threw a lot of different type of rounds through it. I've put Blazer Brass through it on 124 grain. I've put 115 grain Fiocchi through it. I've put some Spear Gold Dots 115 and 124 grain. I put some Hornady Critical Duty 124 grain through here, and it ate all of it with no problems. I ran them through both the magazines that come with the firearm and also OEM pattern Glock mags. No issues. I have had no issues as far as the functionality of the gun. The issue that I did experience has to do with the mounting screws for the optic, and they just keep working themselves loose. Now, the first time I noticed it, I took the screws out, made sure that the holes were cleaned, I Loctited them properly, ran them down, torque them down. I don't have a torque wrench, so I don't know what the exact torque specifications were, but I tightened them down as far as I could and just gave it just a little quarter turn, and let it sit overnight like you're supposed to with Loctite. Took it back to the range, ran a couple hundred rounds through it, and they started getting loose on me again. So I don't know if it's the screws, if it's the optics plate, or what. What I did notice when I mounted this particular optic is that the holes that are cut into the slide, at least for the armor plate, you have the two main screws for that mounts the plate to the slide itself, which is fine. The other two screw holes that they have for the armor plate itself, they just go into the optics plate itself. Like, they don't screw into the front, into the slide, and there are no holes drilled where the screw holes for the optics plate line up into the slide. Am I making any? I hope I'm making sense. My point is, I don't know if I'm using the right screws. Maybe these screws are too long. Now, these are the 9mm screws. The shorter ones obviously weren't long enough. I haven't tried the longer screws that come with the red dot. Now, mind you, I'm using the screws with the red dot. So I want to take these off and then put the 11mm ones on and see how it works. Now, I initially did not go with the 11mm screws because the clearance between the plate and the slide is actually, of course, is very thin, and I didn't want the screws to bottom out to the point where it might cause binding, damage to the slide, damage to the screws or the threads or anything like that. Like, I didn't want to mess anything up, so I just kind of went with these screws and just tried it. So I don't know, I'll try it with the longer screws and see what type of results that I get. I might have to reach back out to Fusion and see if I can get another set of screws. Maybe the screws are just not very strong. I don't know what the story is. But outside of that, functionality for this particular gun has been rock solid. Functionality wise, for the dot itself, it has been rock solid. Like, it kept zero, no flickering and everything. The grass is nice and clear. The dot looks like it's about a 3 MOA dot, somewhere around in that range. Like I said, I don't have the spec sheet, so I'm not 100% sure about that. But by the time I do my 1,000 round update video, I do plan on having the specs and the features for this dot. So hopefully I can show you that in that particular video. But all in all, how do I feel about the XP Pro for the moment? I gotta say, full disclosure, I was a little skeptical about the XP Pro before I shot it, only because sometimes I'm the type of person where I like to make my own assessment of things, and there's still a lot of hype surrounding this particular firearm, so I just wanted to see for myself. But I gotta say, I am a believer, and if I could get through the next 1,000 rounds, the next 600 rounds, I should say, without any catastrophic issues, this right here would definitely enter my EDC rotation. So with all of that being said, what are your thoughts about the XP Pro? Let me know down in the comment section, y'all. Let's get this discussion popping. Also, as you saw on the range, my XP Pro outshot my Staccato P. So you have a firearm that's around $1,000 with this finish, and it beat out a firearm that's more than twice that. So what do y'all think about that? Let me know down in the comment section, y'all. Let's get this discussion popping. And as always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I really do appreciate it. This is your big homie, the Armchair Operator, and I'm signing out, y'all. Peace.